Hi friends, welcome back. So SearchGPT, this is the new things the kids can all be talking about. This comes from OpenAI, which also makes ChatGPT. They just made an announcement July 25th, 2024, and this is a direct challenge to Google search. I want to go through their announcement, share my thoughts and yours also. But yeah, SearchGPT, I think this is going to be really, really interesting. We're testing SearchGPT, a temporary prototype, okay, of new AI search features that give you fast and timely answers with clear and relevant sources. And that's actually been an interesting thing with the ChatGPT. You never know exactly where your info is coming from. So they're going to be sourcing, I guess, evidently is what they say. What else do they say? Oh, here's a demo of it. So, okay, so there's a search box just like Google. It's a little bit bigger than Google's. You get your photos, you get your results there, and then you got like kind of result box. Oh, and you can do a follow-up question. Interesting. So it's like, where do you want to go? And then you ask whether, etc. And that's something that Google can't do, to my knowledge, this sort of follow-up question. I like this cleanliness of the thing. And then also, too, it looks like they have web pages organized. The difference, though, just talking out loud with you guys, from what they're showing right here, it seems like they're only giving you like 2 answers from this initial thing. That's what I see. There's the pictures, but then there's like 2 answers in terms of 2, sources. So that's always contention. The other thing is with ChatGPT, or OpenAI as it is now, they've been trying to work out contracts with content providers, because when you present this kind of data, see how there's like a summary there? Where's that coming from? So for example, let's say, you have different sources of news, be it, Bloomberg, New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, et cetera, right? So will they make some sort of deal with like a paid, version of this where you can access the paid articles, et cetera? So I think that's interesting. Whereas, for example, with Google, you do a search. You guys know Google works, and it'll just list you a whole bunch of stuff, and then some is paid, some is not. Or subscription based. That's what I'll say. So I think obviously how they do the ranking of what comes up first is going to be big. Also, too, will they get into the ad business, just like Google, where people can buy ads for their search to place to the top? We'll see what they say here. This is my first initial reactions. Also says we're testing SearchGPT, a prototype of new search features designed to combine the strength of our AI models with information from the web to give you fast and timely answers with clear and relevant sources. Okay, we're launching to a small group of users and publishers to get feedback. So right now it's just, very few people are going to get it at the moment. Hopefully we get it. We'll see. While this prototype is temporary, we plan to integrate the best of these features directly into ChatGPT. Interesting. So perhaps, interesting. I was just say perhaps this say temporary. So perhaps, because I was just thinking about this. The thing going forward would be, how much integrated is this into Apple and Microsoft products, right? And will there be monopoly laws that ensue with this? And obviously, Google's not going to like that. I promise you. This interesting, integrated in the ChatGPT. Okay, if you're interested in trying a prototype, sign up for the wait list, is what they say. I'm sure many people will sign up. A new way to search. Getting answers on the web can take a lot of effort, often requiring multiple attempts to get relevant results. We believe that by enhancing the conversational capabilities of our models with real-time information from the web, finding what you're looking for can be faster and easier. Okay, so here's an example that they give. So the question was music festivals in Boone, North Carolina in August. And then it's got like different sites on the left, and it's got your results on the right. So in terms of for a computer interface, I think that works pretty good. The kids these days are all on phone, right? So, they're going to just want like a single column UI design. And as you can see here, it looks like you can hover over different ones. Oh, okay, there's a link. You push the link button there, and that shows you the differences. Interesting. This actually looks very much like email, like a Gmail kind of setup, the more that I'm looking at it here. And it looks like they have so maybe the thing on the right is going to be sort of like what it's mainly going to look like, and the thing on your left is sort of like for the computer, the 2-column thing. I'll just say interesting. I'm still kind of processing them myself. I guess one of the differences that stands out to me is more graphical. So on the right side, for example, see all these photos. So I think people with slow internet, this will be much slower for them. One thing that's a positive for Google, at least in the past, and now these days it's changed. It's really text-based when you do a search, so it comes up really, really fast. And then obviously it depends how well this thing works. I mean, Google works really, really well, but don't put it past OpenAI to catch up. So that's what it looks like. And then it's got a search function, and then you can easily change it. I can see from like nighttime mode, daytime mode. I can see. It says here, designed to give you an answer. SearchGPT will quickly and directly respond to your questions with updated information from the web while giving you clear links to relevant sources. So again, the whatever contracts they have, and Google, to my knowledge, isn't under attack from. So for example, like I think the New York Times sued OpenAI / ChatGPT, and I think different authors also sued them. So for example, let's say I type in, give me a summary of said book, and it's like ripping out content from books, or tell me the history of whatever said person. The question, and this is something that I always want to stress with you guys, and it's something we do on the channel. When you search for information, there are different types of information out there. So for example, if I say what is the age of a particular person, so we look at Mr. Musk, I think right now it's 53, he just had his birthday, right? So that's like a factual thing. Or if I say give me a recipe for apple pie, well, yes, you can search something and get a recipe for apple pie, but there's more than one recipe out there. Yes, the apple pie recipe is factual, but there's more than one. And then another one, like if you Google, because I do this all the time, it's like, okay, I want to get better at maybe my calf muscles or whatever, or I want to lift a certain way, exercise stuff, and like what's the best exercise routine. That's one where like if in these search engines have a lot of power, they could direct you to like, hey, you should join this gym, and this is the proper method that they use, or direct you to a certain YouTube channel. Hey, watch this video. So this stuff is always really sketchy on how order is ranked. So for example, I've always talked about on YouTube, does my channel show up in search rankings? Does it show it to you guys on the front page? That kind of stuff. I will say though, in defense of OpenAI, I do like their interface where again it's graphical, but I think it's cool. But I think people with slower connections maybe not great. So this is interesting how they show how it kind of pops up that way. So what else it says here? You'll be able to ask follow-up questions like how would in a conversation with the person with the shared context building with each inquiry. Oh, okay. So you can ask multiple questions, I guess is what they're saying. It says building with each inquiry. I think this kind of stuff though is leading forward into voice. So that's probably when you get to that, Tony Stark kind of, I got my computer to work with as like an assistant to like, hey, what's the gravity of Jupiter, and how much of a spaceship the structural design do I need to do? And then you start working on with that, and okay, what would happen if a solar flare ran through, and then the computer calculates for you. I think we're going in that direction when you can do the follow-up question stuff. So that's pretty big. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Google, and probably companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, etc. are going to have to spend a lot more R&D to keep up with this kind of thing. So, in terms of like AI hype as a whole, I'm not on board of like everyone's going to be using AI, etc. But I can certainly see how if it's AI is done in quote this way, not in terms of how can I say like replacing you entirely, more done in terms of assistant. I'll put it that way. And if the technology gets fast and accurate, certainly there's a thing out there, but it's like, is every company in the world going to have an assistant? I'm kind of doubtful on that. That's why I'm doing this one on like this. That's why when I guys say AI hype, I don't think like necessarily every company in the world is gonna benefit the same way this one is. There's going to be a lot of people investing a ton of companies investing a ton of money, but has OpenAI already won the game, right? And that's sort of where it comes in against the anti-trust of the monopoly stuff, right? How they've already locked in Apple and Microsoft before any other companies have a shot. Partnering with publishers and creators, right? So this would be the like New York Times, etc. Creators would be like something like myself, right? So if I asked, hey, someone, what's the best way to manage my money? Just for example, does it point you to up here, like for example, Goldman Sachs, or does it point you to whatever person on YouTube, etc.? This was to say here, we are committed to a thriving ecosystem of publishers and creators. We hope to help users discover publisher sites and experiences while bringing more choices to search. For decades, search has been a foundational way for publishers and creators to reach users. Now we're using AI to enhance the experience by highlighting high-quality content in a conversational interface with multiple opportunities for users to engage. I want to hear about this creator stuff. This is a big challenge to YouTube, though. If indeed, like say for example, in the future someday, OpenAI comes up with some sort of social media to challenge, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm just saying for example, because one of the things is that you guys know this, Google as it works now does recommend YouTube videos, and I was just thinking about this out loud. Is like, how often does Google recommend, say, go to X or go to, say, Trump's True Social, this kind of thing? So do you guys understand like the importance of search, or if I want to buy something, does it send you to Amazon, or does it send you to because Google has like a kind of a shopping, and Google has a travel section as well, so we use that sometimes. This is a lot of money involved in search. You guys know this. What does it say here? AI search is going to become one of the so AI search. So I think this is interesting stuff. I don't think many companies are going to get involved in this. Well, so far, because it seems like OpenAI is already locking up, locking up resources, people, and then, like I said, Apple and Microsoft. So AI search is going to become one of the key ways that people navigate the internet, and it's crucial in these early days that technology is built in a way that values, respects, and protects journalism. Okay, so people are very sensitive to that, to where are you ripping information from, and publishers. We look forward to partnering with OpenAI in the process and creating a new way for readers to discover The Atlantic. So that would be like a magazine. Oh, that's a quote from The Atlantic. Okay, interesting. Okay. SearchGPT is designed to help users connect with publishers by promptly citing and linking them in searches. Responses have clear inline name attribution, so like who wrote said thing, and links so users know where information is coming from and can quickly engage with even more results in the sidebar links. Because remember, we have a culture in the USA that prefer to believe someone like a Mr. Musk, like for example, Reuters says, hey, we got sources that say you've canceled a certain car, and Mr. Musk will come out and say no, it's all lies, and then people got to choose which reality they live in. And so it's very important for any of this kind of stuff to know what the sourcing is, right? Where is this information coming from? So stuff like this, like when is the festival to go to the county fair? Like, so this kind of stuff is obviously also I won't say obviously. Well, let's say tends to be, or sporting events or this kind of stuff where hotels tend to be there's going to be an official site, and then there'll be other sites trying to sell you stuff to said site. That's been something I've noticed lately. So for example, if I want to buy, say, baseball tickets, there's like the official place you can buy baseball tickets, and then like all of your sort of like second hand, is that what you would say, or second market, or third party, that's better to say, like a third party markets to buy said tickets. So I was thinking about all these different things that get involved with this. We partner with publishers to build this experience and continue to seek their feedback. In addition to launching the SearchGPT prototype, we also launching a way for publishers to manage how they appear in SearchGPT. Oh, interesting. To manage how they appear. So that's going to be, that's actually interesting, because it's so like, how do you want your articles to appear? Which one do you want to appear first? Do you want, the author's name there? Do you want the title? Which photo do you want to show up, etc.? That's interesting. Okay. So publishers have more choices. Importantly, SearchGPT is about search and separate from training OpenAI's generative AI foundational models. And then regarding this AI stuff, Mr. Musk has always been complaining about how ChatGPT scrapes Twitter for content and stuff like that. And he's like talking about closing off the data for that. There's a lot of complicated stuff, because you have to remember, the issue is like, not only is say ChatGPT slash OpenAI getting data from all over the place, it is then charging money to access that information. Sites can be surfaced in search results even if they opt out generative training. Okay, let's see here. What else we got here? We've also heard from publishers and creators, which they haven't mentioned much about yet, that they want to understand how best to engage with AI search products and how their content performs, right? So now there's a whole new algorithm of what you've got to figure out how to, because you want to get the top of search results. So it's all about the algos, of course. And we use this prototype to learn more and share findings. If you'd like to share, okay. Sam and the truly talented team there's a quote here, and the truly talented team at OpenAI innately understand that for AI-powered search to be effective, it must be founded on the highest quality, most reliable information furnished by trusted sources. For the heavens to be in equilibrium, the relationship between technology and content must be symbiotic, and provenance must be protected. So again, we're talking about the importance of getting good info on the internet. And that's coming from Robert Thompson of News Corps. And the reason why it's funny, this is the Fox News people, so because they're known not to be truthful. So it's ironic. And true story too. The Murdoch, the owner, he's getting old and he's trying to pass down the company to one of his kids, and there's a fight over that among the kids. So that's what's up with that. What comes next? We'll keep improving the experience in areas like local information and commerce. Local information and commerce. So that's big, right? So give me info about when events are, where can I buy stuff, etc. We'll also plan to get feedback on the prototype from users and publishers and bring the best of the experience at ChatGPT. And then that's it. So the things that stand out to me, guys. So this is what it is so far. And what I like about Google, and again, this is a SearchGPT prototype, but what I like about Google, Maps is really good on Google. So nothing about Maps here that I see with this. Also, Google reviews is a pretty big thing these days. And we use that, and actually, which is really interesting, we just took a trip to Vietnam, and you may not know this, but because there's so many new companies and new restaurants and new hotels and new all kinds of stuff, right, going into the country, people there care a great deal about Google reviews. It's actually really interesting, and it's the same here in Korea. Like we just went out for drinks yesterday, and the restaurants, they run promotions of like, hey, if you give us a review, we'll give you a free drink. It's like, okay, fine, we'll give you a review. That kind of stuff. So I don't see any of that. Okay, like that kind of user generated content is really big on Google or YouTube, reading through comments, stuff like that. So so far Google's a massive company, you guys know this, but this integration, I think the worry for me and always for this stuff is it's just you want to understand where information is coming from. Part of the world we live in is understand like different people's points of view on said things. The big issue with like you ask, what is the best car, for example, there's all sort of like financial implications involved with that. And so this is the danger that we have, is like, what is quote truth, and some of these things there is no right answer to what is the best car. There's just simply not. Now what if theoretically, well, it's a tricky, that's to say, what if theoretically you could talk to your search GPT and say, this is my criteria. I have a family of 5. We have a dog. we drive 20 miles a day, and we don't live in a snowy condition, but we have a lot of hills. What's the best car for me? But still, it's like I said, like this is one example. Where's the best city I'm going to live in? All these things. So, this is where AI assistant to help us with that kind of stuff. The one thing I will say though is that I think for a lot of people, the talking stuff, some people just want to hear a voice and they want to get that sort of companion. Me personally, I don't really use my, and I don't want it to activate, but well, to say the talking feature on my phone, the hey person, you guys know what I'm talking about, because it'll activate if I say its name. But I actually don't use it that much. I probably just turn it off, but I leave it on because sometimes it's kind of funny. It's just funny to see what it says, and it doesn't really give me that useful information right now. That's the Apple one. If these things got faster and like to be like really conversational and then theoretically knows you, that would be interesting. Like, wow, this is where you get into privacy stuff. Like, say for example, and like I've always told you guys, like I buy Apple phones and I like Nike shoes, just for example. So if the company knows that you like certain products, the problem with that though is it's like, what if Adidas comes out with something really cool, or Converse or whatever? There's all sorts of implications with this AI stuff. Even just like, for example, we're looking at going on vacation again soon, maybe September, something like that. Where are we going to go? Are we going to go to Spain? Are we going to go to Bali? For example, like there's all sorts of financial implications, like where people, want your business, et cetera. So I think the way these companies give you information, how it's presented, there's going to be a fight. I in defense of, I'll say Lena Khan and the FTC, who I'm a huge fan of because they always crack down monopolies. I am concerned though if that, because when I look at this, I'm like, oh my god, these people got tons of, talking about OpenAI, these people got tons of money. They got the right partnerships. They're coming out with pretty interesting products, and they're challenging the big players of Google and stuff. And my initial reaction, I'm just thinking out loud here, is what about there could be other little companies out there that maybe have pretty cool tech coming out. For example, I'm here in Korea. My understanding is the Koreans, some of like your Naver or Taum, if you know these companies, have technology. I don't know if it's going to be as far along as this, but I'll just say that they have some pretty good stuff. Naver Search over here, we call it Jishigan, but Naver Search is pretty popular. In China, Baidu is very popular as well. So don't think that this. I think they're ahead, but I think they're ahead because they got some great contracts, and Sam Altman's been heading off to the Middle East to raise money, and they were talking about doing a new company there to build chips and stuff like that. There's all sorts of stuff with this. So anyway, I just shared some thoughts as we went through this. I'd like to hear yours. As of now, are you excited about this? Do you like OpenAI? And you thinking to yourself, man, I hate Google. I want to get off of Google. I want to do something else. For me, I see this. I don't know. I grew up with, well, grew up not the right word, but I've been using Google for years. I used to use Yahoo. I don't use Yahoo that much, not at all. Bing, I don't really use that at all anymore. Ask Jeeves, etc. I have no qualm saying, hey guys, I use Google. Most of us do. It's nice to have other choices out there, right? But yeah. And it's funny because now that we're talking about it loud, you could argue Google has a monopoly. Is it an unfair monopoly? So though there's monopoly in the sense of your product's just so good, Google, that we all use it. There's unfair monopoly to where you're buying up all of your competition and not allowing other people to even compete, or you're the default search engine on all phones and computers. So again, that's monopoly kind of stuff. So we have to have a world, and I'm talking about FTC, Lena Khan stuff again, but we have to have a world to where you have a device and then someone hasn't already won the game by being the default browser or the default search engine. So that's where, like I said, OpenAI has partnerships with Apple, Microsoft, etc. And I mentioned before, I'll just give you examples of other countries. Naver's a legit company, so is Baidu, but it has OpenAI already kind of leapfrog everyone else, and we got no choice. And the last thing I'll mention is in terms of stocks, if this thing ever goes IPO, it'll be a wild one because we all know what OpenAI is at this point. And I mention that because sometimes, the way other YouTubers will say, oh, this is going to be the next Apple, this is going to be the next Apple, etc. I'll just tell you guys this. I lived long enough to where when there's a mega IPO, trust me, you'll know. Apple was no secret when it went IPO. Same way that, for example, this would be no secret, or Microsoft, but once this went, say IPO, for example, it would be no secret. We would all know what it is by now. Whether or not you like Sam Altman. I don't look up to the guy say, I don't know if Gates or Jobs, if people look up to him in the early days, but yeah, I guess you could say that. I don't know. Altman's a different personality. And I don't mean to say Gates or Jobs were, how can I say, honest and angels. They definitely weren't. They were certainly did a lot of dirty practices and stuff to get their company to where it was. And it's a dirty game, guys. Business is a dirty game. But I think Altman's got an even more negative reputation than others. And there was the whole eyeball scanning thing, and I don't know. For some people, Altman creeps them out. So that's the question. To pose to you, are you categorically on board with OpenAI, or are you just no, I don't want anything to do with these people? Anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts on this, and I'll catch you in the next video.